And I love that from adapting as well. The Witchblade in particular, I think, had some good value for them to slow down both the Freya and the Ram, right? They were auto-attack kind of reliant between both of those carries, I felt like, in this build. Even the Erlang, if you consider it, it relies on that attack speed as well. So a great call, I feel like, from adapting on the Circuit pickup there from them. It was able to, I think, kind of outshine the Erlang in terms of their dive potential. I feel like adapting had way more presence.
And this is a great mindset now to be in if you're NRG after winning this first game, because
they needed it.
This is against Obey Alliance, a team that they've struggled with currently since the spring split, but now, more importantly, it's their first win of the fall split overall. They lost to Rival in the first week and Dignitas 0-2, not even picking up a single game. So at least NRG now can shake off the nerves and head into the second game comfortable.
They are going to have to shake off those nerves, though, from the second pick position. Obey have elected to be that first selection this time around. And we've talked a little bit at length about some of the bully potential that can allow, but that's gotta feel good if you're emilZy, right? To get that Amaterasu first banned away by Obey.
And he has such a wide variety of god pulls.
Does.
He likes the Terra as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets that later on in the draft with so many important gods that needs to get banned. You got your Freyas, your Chernobyls, your Barons, your Najas, and then also the Athena.
There's a lot to try that you have to make sure that you take care of. And there's sort of two ways to approach it. You can try and get rid of it all. You can leave a lot of it open so that there's plenty for both of you and sort of just let it all through. So it just depends on what you want. But it looks like this time they want Naja to be involved in this game along with the Freya. So we'll see which one they prioritize and, yeah, get that Naja over into the hands of Twig.
Well, Freya and Athena are open, so that's why there was only 2 of the 5 banned. NRG recognizes they can get the other 2 if that's the direction that they want to go so far, getting one piece of the puzzle. But do they solidify this with the Freya? Yes.
And you talked about how emilZy has a wide god pool. His Athena, certainly nothing to scoff at, can play that one at a high level, and they're going to need it from him. This Naja, if it can get off the ground early, which it so often does, it can be difficult, it feels like, to stop him or slow him down.
Especially with the passive change, I think that CaptainTwig needs to get the ball rolling from the very get-go, and if they can maybe add a Discordia to that mix, get that passive power even added on top of that, then maybe Obey can bring this to a game 3. But it's going to be the Vulcan instead. A lot of burst damage between these two. And if you're looking for objective control, Vulcan certainly brings that with his ult.
That's right. And Vulcan, one of those gods that can very easily follow up off the Naja ultimate as well. So you can kind of take a tankier target up that you don't need to die right from the Windfire Wheel's damage. Instead, guaranteed drop right back down into a big Vulcan ultimate. Meatball knockup can be a ton of damage. This is a great combination between the two of them. The question is, though, are they going to be able to keep this Vulcan safe? He can be dive relatively easy.
The boar. Artemis's boar. So much attack speed already from the Artemis and the Freya. Still not really sure where this Athena is heading to. Could be solo. It could be potentially in a Guardian role. If they want to, they can allow maniaKK to play this Athena and pick up the Fafnir to really get the ball rolling for these late game physical magical hunter combos.
That's one more thing Obey have to consider. And it looks like they're agreeing with you. Obey is not 100% sold that that's going to be an Athena going to emilZy, because they banned the Geb and the Terra. It's one thing to ban one of them and say, you know, we'll just try and hedge our bets. This feels like all in on it's going to be not support Athena.
But picking the Bakasura currently is a little surprising.
Right.
This still leaves that question mark in the air. The thing is that Obey Alliance still have the luxury of picking their support if they really want to, unless they're going to run something really wild with the Naja in the support role, which iRaffer has done from time to time, playing unorthodox picks.
And this feels like the answer for me to all these auto attackers, right? The Bakasura, the Artemis, the Freya, is to go with that Kuzenbo, try and get the reflect damage and to kind of throw all that back. And it's very disruptive, you know, if you're trying to run down that Watery Grave and kind of push them all out of there.
Getting a potential knockups, and speaking of more knockups on top of the Watery Grave, you got a Sobek and an Athena. Outside of Sobek Athena, the best crowd control is like Yammyn on top of this, so getting 2 of the best 3 control gods in team fights.
It's very disruptive trying to deal between the 2 of them here for NRG, but also so is that Fear No Evil from Unbots. But how do they sort of pull this all together, right? Is it the Unbots to sort of get the beads away? Is it Unbots to set up into the Vulcan? Sort of what's the cohesive strategy here from Obey?
It's just trying to isolate anyone. The same way that the Freya was getting dove in the last game, I think this is going to be the same mindset for Obey Alliance too, because they went in knowing that Freya was going to get locked in immediately after the Naja, and if you can just get like that blink ulti guaranteed, then this Freya is not going to be having an easy time.
Is it going to be Unbots Or Naja solo, I suppose. Where are they putting it? They got the two assassins here now.
Kuzenbo solo.
Kuzenbo solo.
Hunbat's jungle, Naja support.
Naja support. I can see that, absolutely. Well, Naja support, is that enough to win you over to the side of Obey? If that's what we're going to be seeing here, are you giving your vote back over to NRG and selecting them as the winners for this to close it out into... I like that. I think we very likely will be seeing that Naja support here for iRaffer, because we even see it sometimes in the jungle being built very defensively, right? More for that control that it can provide.
Just the utility that it has between your reducing their movement speed, you're boosting your own, you're shredding their protections,
right.
You're able to catch them up. And just the fact that you can bring somebody up in the sky for about 2 to 3 seconds, whether or not you kill them, that's 2 to 3 seconds less DPS from either Freya or Artemis. Even Bakasura that could swing a team fight for Obey.
Absolutely could. We'll see if that's going to be the call here from Obey, or if NRG can shut this one down in a hurry. Game 2, let's get it over to the casters.
Thank you. And man, you guys had to ask. Me and Ryan knew exactly where these characters were going.
We did?
Yeah, I mean, I said Xaliea is going to be on the Kuzenbo. You said iRaffer on the. They can't prove us wrong.
Yeah, we're sick, dude.
We're
nice,
dope, man.
Nice work. Yeah, that
Hell
was impressive.
yeah! See, that's the attitude you got to have. All right, pack it up. We're good.
We're good to go. And look, this composition actually does make sense to put it together this way. You want this Naja to be around Vulcan as often as possible, because that's the main setup for PrettyPriMe on this Vulcan.
Yep.
Not that he necessarily needs it, which, by the way, super stoked that Prime's playing Vulcan again. Always excited about it.
Super what?
Stoked.
Like stoke the fire?
Sure.
He says that in his voice pack.
Oh, like when Kepri says, "Unfortunate, really." Like that's what you're just like that voice pack.
So PrettyPriMe made a name for himself on the Vulcan, and
Oh
it's
no,
been
like
so
when
long
Ron
that
Jobber's
I actually-
announcer pack says "Unfortunate, really."
That-
Like the Keprian. That's what it was. Okay.
I think really what I don't know what he's saying, folks. Actually, let's look at this. This is kind of interesting. The split. Ataraxia and EmilZy are dancing, while iRaffer and emilitoo are dancing.
iRaffer is just keeping ML off of this purple and gets the minis from it, and not going to let them just get this for free. Yeah, just get in there and auto-attack a little bit. Shell used as well, as purple is secured by NRG, but it costs them their shell. Now, this sets iRaffer behind, which isn't what you necessarily want to do as an assassin support. You kind of want to get a lead and start to roll with it, but Naja's so good right now that you can kind of get away with doing something like that, even if it isn't going to work out.
Yeah, he's still getting 10 power after his passive at this point.
Yep. Yeah, not until they start playing on the patch that just went live today will we see a change in that, where he no longer gets any power.
Remember that first week?
I do.
20 power?
Wasn't that long ago.
It's what?
It's not like those were
Oh, it was a long time ago.
the dark old days or anything like that. Like that was literally a couple Thursdays ago.
Oh, man. Can feel it in my bones talking about that Thursday.
Oh, that is brutal, though. So this is where that disadvantage that iRaffer puts himself in is really punished by adapting. He rotates over and just yoinks that purple buff away from iRaffer and Ataraxia, and so that's a big old level 1 Naja at 2 minutes, gentlemen.
Does it adapt? Okay, there we go. Just a jump path. I guess he knows that Yammyn's on his way, and the Freya should scare everybody else. Double taunt coming out. Prime still uses the beads, but continues walking in that direction, and Twig gets eaten, adapting with the first blood on the Bakasura.
Beautiful rotation by EmilZy. That's a getaway for both Twig and PrettyPriMe should EmilZy not show up. And it'll cost him a minion or two. Missed all 3 melees off of this wave, but who cares? He got an assist. He set Twig even further behind and got his jungler first blood. So that's a pretty good start, I'd say, for NRG.
So right now, when I'm looking at iRaffer on this support Naja, I mean, this isn't the newest thing on the planet. They get double taunted one more time. We've seen this come through quite a few times. There's a number of tools at Naja's disposal that make a lot of sense for this character to be played in the support role. And I'm not just talking about the obvious, which is the ability to flicker a player in and out by way of the ultimate.
It's that prot shred on the universe ring toss, the fact that it provides a slow, it's that you have that stun, of course, the Military Sash. It puts you into danger, but with a tanky build, might not be so bad, as Twig has to blink away from adapting because that pressure that Bakasura exerts in the early game.
Xaliea on the Kuzenbo is a nice response to the draft that NRG have sort of accumulated as well. You've got adapting, a basic attack-based character. Yammyn on the Freya, which is sort of a basic attack-based character, but more burst, which also works with what Kuzenbo wants to do. And then obviously the Hunter. I always think of Kuzenbo as largely an anti-basic attack character, but really it's anti-extended damage, whether it's dots or channel abilities. And so Xaliea, to match what adapting is going to do, I love the Kuzenbo selection.
It is a little bit about sustained damage, but I've always thought of Kuzenbo as a more counter to fire and forget characters, which is, you know, gods like Zeus and Kukulkan, who once they output their main damage ability in Lightning Storm or Whirlwind, they don't have a how
many times have you watched Neil Ma just sit there
and tank the whole damage? It can be disheartening to say the least in situations like that. It's potentially disheartening here for iRaffer is Yammyn maybe fat-fingered the beads, but iRaffer is gonna take another spill here as emilZy, you know, is getting in his feelings with that one and in the wrong way.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, you know, just a little bit of background. These two support players don't really like each other. They were outright traded for each other in the beginning of the season. And I think the conversation was, well, we'll see which team wins. Frankly, NRG won the trade. Ultimate coming out from NRG's jungler, adapting as he's trying to make himself known. Xaliea stuck under the tower, but that's his own, so he'll be fine about it. And emilZy picks up a speed.
That's the best as a support, when you earn yourself a buff.
Go ahead.
When you earn yourself a buff camp.
Yeah.
That you get to actually pick up a buff.
You're like, hooray, I get to get a buff.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to remind you that the best place
doesn't play a whole lot of anything these days, right?
Oh! 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 The dunk.
Twig's getting dunked on right now. Oh, that auto actually misses from Yammyn. Was very concerned about his positioning in regards to iRaffer, but it's not over yet.
It's over.
No, it's not.
It's over.
It's 3-0.
Bakasura is 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, CaptainTwig's 2 levels down.
No. So Bakasura is one of the most frustrating characters. In my time, oh, that's kind of funny. Okay. Is it enough to kill him? It's a different story. Oh, surprise! Here comes Naja, and iRaffer commits the ultimate.
Nice ult from iRaffer. He'll get taunted back into some damage from emilZy, but no help coming.
Where'd he come from? I love seeing Naja's from off screen. That truly looked like a scene from DBZ Fighters, where it's just like, oh, he got a tag character, no problem, and then he takes him into the ultra move. I love Naja, and I will not hide that. I love this character.
How could you not love watching this character? I think maybe people are starting to get some fatigue from playing against it these days, but certainly not watching it at a competitive level. It's so dynamic.
This character is the reason I am here today, arguably. I played one game of Smite, played Artemis, ran out of mana, played my second game, got Naja ulted, and went, who just Street Fighter ulted me? Bought the God Pack and played every day since. That was 2013. So yeah, Naja, a little bit close to my heart. Adapting close to Twig's heart here as he gets ulted. For good reason, because he's demolishing CaptainTwig right now. Hasten Katana and rank 1 of the booties built up. And this is where I started to go, was that I think that Bakasura is one of the old classic hyper carries, in that there comes a point where Bakasura is just unmanageable. And being a level and a half to 2 levels above the enemy jungler, it's too early where he doesn't have the itemization just yet. Katana, booties, and a third item. And if this Bakasura stays the distance that he is above the enemy team right now, Ryan, it's just a win for NRG. He's so hard to match.
iRaffer sash onto emilZy and straight into the ultimate. Vulcan ult definitely going to be there from Prime, but not anywhere close to enough damage to bring down emilZy quite yet.
Meanwhile, the fight over the red buff. NRG gonna lose that one. Oh no, it seems like they've won it. Yammyn gonna walk away there. Sobek not be able to pick their own nonsense up, and the purple buff gonna fall to the wayside as well. That one picked up like that. So Obey right now looking up. Very close game. Closer than it was earlier in game number 1. But like I said, all eyes on adapting. This is his job right now. He basically was given the Hope Diamond and said, all right, do it. And he's just chilling here and is just waiting for the moment.
What do you do with the Hope Diamond? What if I were to receive the Hope Diamond, I would get it and say, what do you, they say, okay, do it. I say, do what?
No, the goal is to become as rich as possible, and he has the Hope Diamond. It's easy to become rich.
Yeah, my bad. That's on me. That reference escaped me. I'm sorry about that one.
I mean, clearly, like, what else would the goal be?
A stranger walks up to you, hands you a pineapple. Do it. You're like, what? Like,
pina coladas, baby. Come on. Obviously.
Is that a common occurrence in New York that I'm just missing out on?
I mean, it happened the other day here in Georgia. Somebody just handed me a pineapple and said, okay, do it. So I took the hammer out of my back pocket and I made some pineapple, some frozen delight.
You were worried about adapting, but I'm more worried, first of all, about this cast, but secondly, about Yammyn in the mid lane, because he is level 11. Yeah, adapting has all these kills, but Twig's been able to stay around, farm, stay close enough to stay relevant. Yammyn is 1,200 gold up on Prime.
I am, you know what it is?
No.
I just assume that Yammyn is going to do the damn thing. There is, he has become, maybe he just always has been, the most consistent player in Smite game for 700 days plus. Like, yeah. I don't know how else to paint it, man. Even when his team was losing, he was still one of the most consistent players on the battleground. He was the MVP for the last World Championship they won. He could have been the MVP for the first World Championship they won. He was the MVP.
You got it switched a little bit.
You know, listen, Yammyn is the GOAT, and I'm unconcerned with him ever, because this is where I expect him to be.
Sure.
I mean, jokes aside, that has always been the hugest upside for NRG as they collapse on their own player. EmilZy going to lose half his HP and laugh about it. It is the fact that they just have the most consistent player, and you can talk about who the best mid laner is or the best player in the world. That's a slightly different conversation, although Yammyn demands your attention in those conversations as well. He is the most consistent player in Smite game, arguably of all time.
I can't disagree with you. He's been right there. Maybe a couple games during certain splits where he's a little bit underwhelming, and that is about it, is adapting up and over the wall. NRG.
Just think about that. Maybe a couple of games scattered throughout a couple of splits.
Yeah.
Like the
and what was he doing during those games, Tom? Come on, man. We gotta get consistent here.
Well, there was a time when he crashed a snowmobile that probably bothered him for like a game.
Yeah.
Maybe half a game.
That would make me sad for sure.
No, it's funny. Like, Yammyn has actually had some trials and tribulations in his personal life, and I've never seen it on the battlefield.
He's a damn machine. Like, what do you want me to say? The dude isn't human. He doesn't miss. He's cold and calculated. And then he'll just go out and drink you under the table after that.
Maybe you.
Well, yes, me.
I mean, definitely you. I've seen you.
Definitely me.
By the way, keep your eyes out for those after-party tickets.
Yeah, do so, because Yammyn will be a machine there as well.
Yeah, he will. Oh, he doesn't miss a shot as Ataraxia feels number 3. Yammyn walks away quite healthily after taking to the sky and everybody waiting for him at the bottom. And EmilZy gets taken out by the alley-oop set up by the support NRG. PrettyPriMe dunking right on down. Kuzenbo has to walk away from Yammyn, and adapting doesn't have to walk away from anything. maniaKK keeping PrettyPriMe in his sights.
No dive in that situation because emilitoo and adapting's ultimate's down. Didn't have any real follow-up for maniaKK, so even though he had them in his sights, they let him off the hook. See, I've been casting with Finch a lot recently, Tom.
Oh, John Punch.
Yeah, that's the one.
Darth Star.
And so, you know, I feel bad, you know, messing with Finch a little bit. I do just to get him acclimated to it so I can really start giving it to him later on, but you, I mean, you're used to this, so. You kind of only have no one, you have no one to blame but yourself.
How does that even work?
I'm into this whole victim blaming thing. I think is a good bit that I'm doing.
No, this is not a thing that you should do. I don't like any part of it. I don't agree. And I won't listen to otherwise.
Okay. Obey's down in the hole by quite a bit at this point. 5K. Nearly in gold.
4,300 so far in the gold column. 5,700.
That's a pretty big deficit, especially when you've got a team that can steamroll you as well as NRG can. Not just with the way their playstyle works, where they keep pressure on you. We discussed that in the last game. But also in the way their picks work. If Yammyn, say, I don't know, sees a level 10 Ram by his purple buff, but kind of by himself, and you just whoop 2-1 ult and he's dead, and then you get to invade a red buff, and then maniaKK gets to put someone in his sights underneath the tier 1 mid tower. Hypothetically, of course.
Of course. Hypothetically. Xaliea trying to get on out of here. Is there anything that aggro says stupid? Tweet at me at f.ny right now.
Good luck, dude.
Thank you.
Stop checking Twitter to see if anyone's tweeting
What
at you already.
does aggro say stupidly? Tweet.
Nice
Breaking
tweet.
my #1 rule, by the way.
Yeah, really, real nice. You know.
But see,
integrity
this is fan interaction.
Ah,
So it's part of the show.
okay.
Right? I will
No.
read your Twitter name on broadcast.
Please do not do that.
Rapper now in trouble. Fear no evil landing on the mark. Now there's the blink forward from adapting, and he's going to be
Nice
immune.
sash.
Nice sash and turnaround, but now adapting as hungry as ever, trying to catch on up. emilZy's trying to get the kill, and adapting says no way. Now Xaliea being body blocked. Yammyn's going to get collapsed on, knocked up. The shot from the sky. Come on, Raxia, Raxia, Raxia!
Oh, no way. Xaliea will end up getting that kill. It was Shell and the Aegis that kept Yammyn from falling during that Ataraxia ultimate.
Oh, they better
emilZy
taunt on emilZy.
gets punished and decides not to taunt, but that's because iRaffer was dead, and you know that he would
That
have
is
taunted
fair.
in that spot. So now Obey has a bit of a window, but maniaKK's still lurking.
There's a great turnaround for Obey Alliance. maniaKK is here. He's going to be able to show up and not snatch the objective away. CaptainTwig. Going to bounce off backwards. Here comes the remainder of Obey Alliance. P.S. The Gold Fury is going to be up in about 8 seconds. I would love to see Obey just go for the gold. I know that everybody's looking towards some of the bigger objectives, but I think Gold Fury right now is an Obey move.
It would be huge for Obey because they are still, even after that little team fight that starts going their way, down about 4,000. They don't feel like they can because look at the mana on CaptainTwig and Ataraxia. Ataraxia hasn't even backed for Aegis yet. He just hit over that level 12 mark during that team fight, whereas emilitoo's level 16.
You know,
Yammyn's on respawn. Obey, this is just being a victim of your deficit at this point, where yes, I think they would have loved to go for Gold Fury at that time, but just can't safely do it.
Najad can destroy objectives, but not when built this tanky, right? So he saw the Najad on the battlefield, and he was just like, obviously go for the objective. Flaming Spear, one of the more ridiculous steroids in the game, but actually one of the more useless abilities for Rapper as he is building tanky. We talked about the ring toss. You don't need power to strip prots, slow the enemy down, etc. But you need power to Gold Fury. NRG are the ones that are going to start this one up. There's CaptainTwig dropping the Fear No Evil. Can he do it? Yes, he can! CaptainTwig, the one-man army, goes to business and takes care of it. Still the Gold Fury. He'll trade his light out, but I don't care. That's the play his team needed him to do. And Obey Alliance, right in striking distance.
That is absolutely massive for Obey. This game was hanging on the precipice and about to fall into the energy void, but Obey Alliance able to make a play, and it's really just CaptainTwig. Prime has a good ultimate afterwards to maybe get Twig out, though adapting makes sure that he doesn't. But that was huge. Now Obey at least has some sort of leg to stand on, where at least their gold isn't as far behind. Still really in a big hole as far as XP is concerned, though. 2 levels in the mid lane, still 2.5 to 3 in ADC.
Tier 2 tower still standing, as nobody looked at it just yet, but the Tier 1 tower will fall down there.
maniaKK is got to be the one to keep Xaliea out of these team fights, because Xaliea is the only one who doesn't have a level deficit this noticeable. I suppose iRaffer doesn't either, despite his 4 deaths throughout the early game, but Xaliea has an XP advantage over maniaKK right now, but his problem is that I don't know that he can tank against Yammyn quite yet. Voidstone is probably not enough, though Yammyn has no pen outside of pen boots, so honestly it probably is enough to withstand at least that initial burst combo without losing too much of your HP. Xaliea joining these team fights is critical, so if you're in a situation like this as a solo laner where your team is doing very well, but you might be a little bit behind or maybe even, but you have comparable farm levels to the rest of your team, so you don't want to let the enemy solo laner come in and affect the balance of power in these team fights. The best thing you can do is exactly what maniaKK is doing. Sit here, keep them busy, keep them locked in lane, hope that they don't decide to say, whatever, I just need to join these team fights as soon as possible. Try and draw them into sitting in lane with you so that your team doesn't have to worry about it quite as much. Because this Kuzenbo is going to be a nuisance. Even the fact that he didn't go Thorns is a bit surprising. I think I would have liked to see it, but Xaliea just relying on that spike shell to do the majority of his reflect damage for him.
And the mentality behind the shell is that, yeah, adapting, Yammyn, Emil, all these characters are going to be attacking you with, by definition, basic attacks. So the shell is going to block at least 2 of those, right?
At least. I mean, yeah, that's all it'll block, but then it'll take damage from the rest of them, so it'll save you a lot of effective health, without a doubt.
iRaffer here, control of emilitoo just a little bit, pushed up in. And Freya, her performance has been, she's not doing it. She doesn't look so incredibly out of control right here.
She's been really good. I don't know, that fight by Red Buff that kind of broke this game open for NRG was really centered around Yammyn one-shotting Ataraxia around that fight. Prime's been able to put in really good damage, just snuck up all the way to the top. Xaliea has Mystical Mail in his Kuzenbo, so whatever, he's going to have near top damage.
So, I mean, in general, you're saying that she's pretty well balanced.
No, I think she's strong for sure. I think that she's worth picking in the early game, yeah. You mind pulling me out from under this bus you threw on top of me?
What's that?
No, never mind. I'm good.
21 minutes in here. Feels later than it is.
Been a lot of action, particularly for two EU teams that like to take it a little bit slower.
12 kills in total. iRaffer stuck here, and it's very interesting per your conversation about this solo lane. You said maniaKK's job was to kind of keep Xaliea in that lane because he had the upper hand. So iRaffer goes ahead and takes care of what maniaKK's doing, leaving Xaliea the ability to go and join the team fight. Adapting on the back line, looking for PrettyPriMe, ult in place. maniaKK gonna lose a lot of HP, but Prime gonna lose more of it. Still alive though! And maniaKK on the way out, and Prime with his dancing shoes on.
But adapting puts the dancing to a stop for Xaliea. Snipes aren't there for Ataraxia. He gets taunted upon landing, and Yammyn right there to put the punish on him. Adapting will take him down with the takedown, and that's unstoppable for NRG's junglers. 7-0 for this Bakasura. And that was a good fight by Obey.
A better fight by NRG.
Prime somehow just finds his way out of that team fight because he is a Vulcan master.
Yes.
Is able to use that backfire movement perfectly along with the movement speed from the passive, but the initiation is perfect. I love what NRG does. You think global ultimate, time to split push with it, but Athena really was never used quite as much as we've seen it here from emilZy in this game to be that split pusher. I mean, iRaffer did it a little bit in game 1, but this was a perfect opportunity for it. He gets the tier 2 with left and is there to support adapting on the blink forward. And how do you peel Sobek ult, Baka ult, Athena ult on Prime?
You don't. You just can't.
So even though Prime escapes, all of his damage is localized onto the 2 tanks that doesn't hurt them very much. They're both able to stay up and fairly healthy, and as a result, NRG gets to take a pretty good team fight because of it.
Just a fantastic job despite the fact that, you know, Prime was just kept out of the whole team fight. NRG, again, keeping their target prioritization in check. And that's something the team has always had. New support, old support, doesn't matter. They've always been able to identify the #1 threat and go ahead and take care of it. So adapting, kind of returning to his old school roots, just being the hard carry. 7-0-1 so far for the Bakasura. What a game it's been. Just, and this is sort of what I was talking about, was Bakasura just gets out of control. And what do you do about it?
Well, eventually, Bakasura, this is starting to be the twilight of his dominance,
yes.
though, I think. It's this point in the game. Because eventually, Prime will be able to meatball his feet, backfire, kill him. Like, you can do that much damage as Vulcan in the mid to late game, especially with as offensive as this build is for adapting.
You notice he does have Stoner Sword and the tank boots.
Sure.
So he's got a little bit of health, a little bit of protections, and I reckon that this last piece is going to be a Magi's cloak, if not a mantle. I'd like it to be a Magi's cloak.
I think either one is probably fine, but if you... Fine, now you have to alt your feet, meatball, and he's dead at that point.
That's fair. That's fair.
Adapting is getting to the point where he's not quite as scary. I think that will end up being something that he has to maybe change his target prioritization. He's a little bit more favorable against Ataraxia at this point in the game, just because he's able to bird him down so quickly with that true damage and the stone cutting sword, which, keep in mind, is only physical protection, not magical. So he's really looking to go on to CaptainTwig or Ataraxia with that build, which certainly does give him good tankiness, but not as much.
Nice ultimate coming out, and NRG just looking for the cleanup fight. Beautiful ultimate from Xaliea, though, just keeping everybody up in the air. Shaffer gonna come down and mean adapting. PrettyPriMe did the do, and now the 5-on-4 going in Obey's arena, and Ataraxia, the one taking care of business here. EmilZy, sit down. It's a 5-on-3.
This is where NRG falls into traps, and it's not this simple. It will never be this simple. But it feels like anytime adapting is the first one in, the fight goes poorly.
I don't think it's that simple.
I don't think it is either. But it feels like it at times, because adapting has been late to the team fight every single fight. Every single time he's been late, and that's the best way that he plays, is being that cleanup man. There he starts being the initiator. Even with Athena ult on top of him, he's not able to do quite enough damage. Blinking into 3 or 4 people as Baka, as I said, during the twilight of your dominance, isn't going to be quite as effective. Prime there, the ultimate was jumped over beautifully by adapting. That was a great outplay by him. But then Raffer hits a really good windfire wheels, and adapting's Prime's 3-1 combo is enough to do 65% of his HP.
When a Bakasura blinks in late game to the end, to the back line, that is not, and this is something that you can bring home to your own game. Mid game, Baka's blinking on your back line to kill them. Late game, Baka's blinking on your back line to act like a fear no evil. He wants to create chaos. His job, if he kills somebody, sure, he'll take it, but his job blinking into the backline at 26 minutes right now is really just to make everybody spread out, go in different directions, and lose communication in the team fight. Because if this is Bakasura and you stand still, you die. There's no other option. So you have to run. And I mean, you've been a player before. The craziness that happens when that sort of ultimate happens on your back line. You got a mate saying, I need help, I need help. You got a hunter running to the right side saying, I'm out of the fight. No, I'm in the fight. And everybody's yelling their own thing. You're there to create chaos. If you can blink to the back, vomit, and then get out, you've done your job, because by that point, Yammyn has deleted somebody. emilitoo has found a target to free cast on because everybody's looking at the Bakasura. That's the end goal. Obey Alliance did a great job of staying headstrong and just saying, all right, we're not afraid. Turn, burn, see you later. Adapting into EmilZy, sit down. And that's why NRG lose that team fight, because Obey just kept their wits about them.
It's also that you're right. In the late game, if you're initiating with Baka ult, I think of it as less fear no evil, more Athena taunt. Like, everyone is now looking at you. You're drawing the attention of everyone, like you were saying. But now, so when Prime ults his feet, adapting has to jump it. but doesn't jump away, up downs you, and now now I have to get out, now my DPS is stopped, and now my team is committed to try and save me, so we have to have a bad fight after that. So adapting either needs to be jumping out whenever Prime's ultimate comes out and take that 1-for-1 trade as a victory for his team, or just use Regurgitate later in the fight. Use it as I might not be able to trade 1v1 against a 75% health ADC when I'm 60% health, but with minions to body block auto attacks and maybe you gobble one up to give yourself attack speed and physical protection, that's probably enough to get you over the edge. And so it's either a finisher or a bait initiator.
Yeah.
And it's up to Obey Alliance to recognize that a Blink Regurgitate at this stage of the game shouldn't be enough to make them panic.
This is the larger conversation of Bakasura that I think a lot of people at the baseline don't really, I don't want to say don't respect, but don't understand. Where Baka can be such a painful pub stopper, right? Where he just hasten fatalis left clicks you to victory, that you don't see this secondary element that can be difficult to deal with as the pilot and the opposition. NRG now coming up to the second large impasse for Bakasura. We talked about late game team fights. The second large impasse for Bakasura is Phoenix Sieges. He will devour your Phoenix if given the opportunity, but getting to this structure, that couple of yards is so difficult for Baka to actually make it through that usually we have to see either a mistake by the enemy squad or Baka kind of play it fast and loose and do the 4-1 split like we're seeing right here.
So difficult to siege with Bakasura, and a lot of assassins are difficult to siege with, but Baka definitely feels like he's on top of that list. As emilitoo uses Beast and Ultimate, they're just going to try and kill iRaffer here, I imagine, but iRaffer is able to stay fairly safe. Great beads from Yammyn.
He's able to walk on out of there, no problem. Meanwhile, adapting on the back line, still has an ultimate available. We're talking about it. When Baka's late, Baka's great. Now he's walking up the lane. Fear no evil by CaptainTwig, kept till this moment. Really good patience. The ultimate by Prime, not good enough. Adapting just gobbles up Twig. Yammyn set up, adapting with the doubleoon. 3 players in Obey jerseys on the bench as the right side Phoenix goes down. Raxia's next, and NRG taking the game.
Adapting is the best janitor in the history of Smite. No one cleans up a fight like he does. That was flawless. And if you want to learn how to siege as Bakasura, it's a team effort because NRG does a great job of baiting ultimates, baiting positioning out of Obey Alliance, making it difficult for them to contest them around that Phoenix. And then adapting just ends the game by his blink initiation. Was absolutely perfect. And this is where he's at his best, when this is the meta for him, when assassins are allowed to just be this cleanup crew, don't need to initiate very often. The reason that adapting struggled so much last year was because junglers were relegated to initiators most of the time. Now he's back into his wheelhouse, and it clearly shows in his play.
I was going to ask you, did you say this is when Baka's best or when adapting's best? Because this is when adapting is really at his core, when he's able to do this sort of thing, which was really funny. The first time when he picked the Bakasura towards the end of the summer split land, I went, I've never seen him play that. But God, that makes so much sense.
Yes, it does. He's so good at putting pressure on you on the map. He's always on time for his buffs and for his buff invades. And then what he wants to do in fights is be the last one in and make sure that you're the first one out.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me of that old song. He's never there when you call, but he's always on time.
Yes.
Right? He's got his own internal clock, and when he shows up, he knows what he's doing. They tried the other side of the Bakasura, didn't really go in their direction, so they're like, all right, that's one way to play. We'll play it how we've always played it, and then right from the back line, Bakasura able to go ahead and topple that.
It was impressive play from him and from all of NRG, really. Obey Alliance have had a lot of success against NRG, and I think that this was the first time that NRG really buckled down and said, we cannot afford to lose this game. Not that they didn't take them seriously before, but this, after starting out 0-2 and losing back-to-back sets to Obey during summer, this one felt a little bit more personal for NRG.
Absolutely. NRG have one in the book, still a best of 3, so some more Smite to go. Who's the MVP? Let us know in Mixer Chat. If you're looking at this one, I mean, it's very easy to say the Bakasura player. I think there was a fantastic job by adapting. EmilZy had a fantastic game as well, though, but I don't know. The Bakasura was the Bakasura. Let's go a little bit deeper on the analyst desk.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Ryan, Finch, and Tolly here as NRG have now had a bit of a return to form after a slow start to fall, split 2-0, able to take down Obey and look pretty good doing it.
The curse has been broken. Not only did NRG finally beat Obey Alliance since week number 2 of Spring Split, but they find their first victory now in the fall. Now, granted, they did lose to Rival and Dignitas, two of the best European teams. If you're going to lose to anyone, you might as well lose to them. So this could be a big positive for NRG in the remaining split.
And now they've got to, like you said, start building forward with this one, right? Because they've got a little bit of catch-up to do as Dignitas is looking very strong. Fortunately for them, Rival have faltered just a tiny bit as well, so it's not, it's not as if they've been left entirely in the dust. NRG very much needed this wind, but it's been done for them, I feel like, off great play from adapting in Yammyn with that Bakasura Freya combo, but in particular adapting on this Bakasura just looked insane. He's selected as your MVP by you all there in Mixer chat, but totally, I mean, what do you feel like it is that kind of opened up the space so much for this Bakasura?
It was definitely EmilZy on the Athena with the taunt setups. CaptainTwig taking a very early spill 2 minutes into the game, and then the chase down onto iRaffer on several occasions. Always in the soul lane quite often. He was picked off on several fronts, and I think that's what allowed adapting just a lot of momentum off of EmilZy.
Yes, that's kind of what allowed him to get started, and he never really let up on the gas. Rushing that hasten katana, that haste effect helped him stick right to his targets. But you and I were talking about this, as we were watching the game, taking our notes and everything. When they're giving up Freya Athena because they have that Naja, right? Yep. But the balance that Freya Athena, their own Naja, they never really got that value out of it. They never really had that balance.
iRaffer couldn't really find the isolation against the Freya, and when you're not going to be able to take her into the sky, then you have to deal with the Freya DPS, and you're in a whole heap of nonsense. And looking at Obey's build throughout the course of the game, there was no real anti-attack speed. I'm not seeing any Witchblades, or Guardian Mails, horrific emblems, and as a result, this Freya Bakasura was just running rampage. Even the Artemis.
Exactly. The Artemis had strong impact for them well. And you highlighted it. Some of those same tools that we saw adapting pick up in Game 1 when he was faced up against a lot of auto attackers, right? With the Witchblade. Yep. That I feel like worked out so well for him, but we didn't see those same things come out from Obey. It kind of felt like a lot in the Kuzenbo basket, I guess, with the Reflect maybe, and then the Water Grave to try and deter that, but that really never got off the ground either, and there was really nothing to slow down adapting or Yammyn.
It just NRG played lights out. I think that this is their time to really shine now. Now that they got the rust off of them, the post-land victory rust, they're going to be able to just carry this in week 2 and onwards.
And I got to wonder if it was just coming to terms with where Baron here is in the meta, as you said. Now they're kind of, is their time to shine. If they've decided that what they got to do is just ban Baron, and not play up against it, then that might just be what they have to do. As NRG kind of remind me of the NRG of old now, at least with this game against Obey, but they got to keep that going.
Well, this is going to be NRG's first victory now, and this is going to be the first loss for Obey Alliance.
That's
Still
right.
Up in the sky for Europe.
Now, it's still a lot to be determined. A lot to be determined for some of the top end teams and for some of the teams trying to fight their way in to that top end. And those two teams are coming up. It's going to be mousesports up against SK. Will be the very next set that you'll see. We're going to get everything ready with the players, everything ready here. So it's going to be a real quick break. Grab your snack, and we will be right back.